In between takes, he'd have a 35 millimeter camera, and I would just look over and this big hulking monster going like.
In seeking life, I created death.
This film is the realization of a lifelong dream for you, Guillermo. Can you tell me what was going through your head? What were you feeling that day when you're in the laboratory? You have your creature, your Victor, in full costume and full regalia. Is this the monster you dreamed of all those years?
It's very funny you mentioned that scene because we were very connected. I was joking that it's the first time I have method directed. But in that scene, that's where the strongest connection happened and something changed in the way I perceive life and everything. It was almost like reaching a horizon, like Victor says, having reached the ends of the earth. There was no horizon left. There was a postpartum joy and depression at the same time that settled for the rest of the movie. It was incredible to see it happening.
Yeah, it felt like something broke open, we got a little tweaky, it was like just something, I don't know, it was a cult or what. There was so much joy in it, so physical. I mean, ultimately, this role for me was an incredibly physical role, and those, we were 3 weeks or more where we were just like with constant rain. In the lab, running up and down these metal stairs with these little high-heeled boots. Just blood everywhere, pieces everywhere, and it was incredibly elemental, and Guillermo would be sitting just right behind one of these huge batteries the whole time, with his laptop and the monitors, and
I was charging my laptop.
Just charging the laptop. Right.
All that lightning just to charge a laptop.
But there was so much joy, and it was just hard to comprehend the magnitude of it.
Inevitable. Until it became truth.
Can you tell me about your first impressions of seeing the creature? Could you see Jacob in there?
First and foremost, I remember feeling really moved and emotional for Guillermo, because I know that this is a project that's been with him since he was 10 years old, and to finally have the creature there, it was a very special thing. And I was really taken by Jacob's performance and how much humanity he brought to the character, and ultimately it made my job very easy of being his defender, his protector, because even though he was under those hours and hours of prosthetics, it was still very easy to connect with him and do those scenes with one another, and those actually turned out to be some of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Absolutely. I mean, the scene where you first meet down in the bowels of the laboratory, what is Elizabeth feeling for him? I feel like the connection's instant.
I think she's totally overwhelmed in that moment. She's kind of been looking for him her whole life, and she never really knew it. She wants to defend him, she wants to protect him, she's curious, she's playful. I mean, she's not thinking. She's not thinking in that moment. She's just just totally present and there with him in that moment. I think she's a creature in her own way, and going through the story and trying to find her place and just feeling very unsettled in each of these environments, and then she kind of finds her home in a way with him.
And then working with Jacob, had you seen him before you shoot those early scenes with him? Did you know what you were in for, this creature that he was going to create?
I had seen some of the designs. I think we met briefly before. But
mostly apart.
But it was mostly apart. So the first time that he came on set was actually the last scene that we shot, the last scene in the film. So that's the first scene that we had together. So he came on set, and he was in his whole getup, and I was just so struck by how heartbreaking it was as well. And what was funny is that in between takes, he'd have a 35 millimeter camera, and I would just look over and this big hulking monster going like.
With the furs.
Yeah, with the furs and everything. It was so funny.
That must have been quite a scene. Did you, where are those pictures? Are those pictures?
I know.
I want to see them,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think he's using them for blackmail now.
That's true.
Now, run.
Hollywood loves a remake, so there probably will be more Frankensteins, or at least Mary Shelley will inspire many more versions of the story. Any words of advice or words of warning you have for those trying to create a monster out of their control?
No, I think that when somebody invents one of the primal 10 songs of humanity, which Mary did, Mary Shelley really created an archetype. I think that you can sing it again and again. And as long as you bring your own voice and your own pain and your own story to it, it'll be new.
An idea took shape.
you're also obviously throwing fits throughout this entire film, some amazing outfits. What was your first impression of the Featherhead ensemble? Had you seen anything like that?
No, nothing. I mean, Kate Hawley is an extraordinary costume designer, and I've really never worn costumes like that in a movie, and I probably never will again. The attention to detail and the design with the fabrics and how that helped push the story along, I mean, it really opened my eyes as to what a tool costumes can be in storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that every one of yours shows a progression of her as well, to the point that I think, that last one with the armbands, somewhat representative of the bride of Frankenstein, right? Was that intentional? Is that something you discussed with Guillermo?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and similar to the bandages that the creature has on his body, and just highlighting that connection once again.
Did you have any input into the costumes as far as what you wanted, or was there anything that you were like hesitant about putting on or wrapping yourself in?
Well, I remember Kate actually came to my house and we had our initial discussion in my home, and I actually had this idea that we would go the complete other way, and it would be very simple, and perhaps Elizabeth would just have one dress, and she's coming from a convent, and in my head I thought that would be the direction that we went in, but we ended up going in the totally other direction. But I was very glad that we did, and definitely helped me in understanding and having empathy for Elizabeth. And the costumes were beautiful, but there was also something quite isolating about them. You can't really move in them, and in these huge carriages, you need help kind of just getting from A to B. And so in that way, it was very helpful. It isolated me.
They're almost your own prison. They're your chains. They're your that
cage,
way to connect. Your cage.
Yeah.
And you did such an amazing job of avoiding the tropes that we know from the Frankenstein movies that we've seen over the years. The bolts in the neck, the fear of fire, even putting on the Ritz, from Young Frankenstein.
Which I love.
What was going through your mind with all those subversions, all those tweaks that you had to the story?
Well, I knew that I was going to do my own version, so you can never build from negation, from negativity. I'm not going to do that. You actually say, I'm going to do this, which nobody has done. I'm going to give it the father and son lineage of pain story, which is very personal. I'm going to try to make it very intimate and very epic at the same time. I'm going to make it an opera. I'm going to make it handmade. You're going to have fabulous set pieces, sets, wardrobe, costuming, color. It's going to feel like the modern Prometheus in many ways, and ultimately a fairy tale too. The passage of the story of the creature is like a fairy tale. He becomes almost a Snow White, going into an enchanted cottage, guided by the animals. So all these things is what you are propositive about.
I remember pieces, memories of different men.
One reason I'm such a fan of yours and your performances over the years is I don't feel a sense of remove from your characters. You aren't playing them. You're embodying them. You are Pearl. You are Maxine. You are Elizabeth. Is that something that you feel when you take on these roles?
Yeah, I don't believe that I'm not. My character isn't an other. She's not apart from me. I'm a major part of my prep is aligning my character's world with my own private world and seeing how that fits and how I can draw those connections. But I'm trying to find that character within me, and I guess you turn certain things down and you turn other things up, and you kind of lean into certain experiences in your own life that help with what the character's going through. But it's not this other entity. It is all me. I do think that that's how the most effective way to portray a character is, and the most vulnerable and with the most heart and compassion.
If you are not to avoid love, then I will indulge in rage.